The sapphire brooch hit the marble floor with a sharp metallic sound, and 73 guests turned at once. "There! Inside the Maid Aloe's locker!" Bola Williams screamed, pointing as though she had just uncovered a murderer. "I told all of you. Poverty has made this woman shameless." Mama Hawa stood frozen beside the service door, her faded uniform damp with sweat. A security officer twisted her arm behind her back, while phones rose across the ballroom, recording every second of her humiliation. "I did not take it," the elderly maid whispered. "Madam, I have never even touched that box." "Keep quiet," Bola snapped. "Do you know how much that brooch costs? Your entire bloodline cannot afford the clasp." Laughter broke from one corner of the hall. Then Faith Coker stepped between the guard and the maid. "Remove your hand from her." The guard looked towards billionaire Chuka Daniels. Chuka said nothing. Faith Aloe's eyes moved from the open locker to the brooch, then to the master key hanging from Bola Aloe's waist. "Who searched this locker?" "I did," Bola replied. "Who witnessed you opening it?" Silence. "Who checked the security footage?" More silence. Chuka finally spoke. "Faith, step aside. Let the family handle this." Faith slowly removed the diamond engagement ring from her finger. She placed it on the champagne table. The tiny sound it made silenced the entire ballroom. "There will be no wedding," she said, "until this woman is treated like a human being and not a convenient criminal." Chuka stared at her, speechless. But before that night ended, the accused maid would reveal a name that would shake the Daniels family and expose why she had entered that mansion in the first place. Do not leave this story halfway, because the person who planted that brooch had made one terrible mistake. Comment your city and your local time below, and subscribe now. Because what happened when the deleted camera footage returned changed every life inside that house. 18 days earlier, the gates of the Daniels mansion opened at exactly 8:17 on a wet Monday morning. The house stood behind 2 layers of black iron fencing on a quiet road in Ikoyi, where the trees leaned over polished walls and even the drainage gutters looked as though somebody washed them before sunrise. 3 security cameras followed every vehicle from the gate to the circular driveway. The main building was cream-colored, wide and silent, with glass windows tall enough to reflect half the sky. Money had a way of announcing itself without speaking. A dark gray estate car rolled into the compound and stopped beside the staff entrance, not the main steps. The driver came down first, opened the rear door, and placed one faded travel bag on the ground. Then an elderly woman stepped out slowly, wearing a simple brown dress beneath a cheap blue cardigan. Her name, for the next 10 days, was Mama Hawa. At 64, she carried herself with the careful stiffness of somebody whose knees troubled her during cold weather. Her hair was hidden beneath a plain scarf. Thick glasses enlarged her eyes, and soft padding around her waist made her body look heavier than it truly was. The gold wedding band she had worn for 38 years was gone from her finger and locked inside a small safe in Kaduna. Only 2 people knew who she was. One was the driver, who left without calling her Ma. The other was her son. From the second-floor study, Chuka Daniels watched the estate car disappear through the gate. His right hand rested against the glass, and his jaw remained tight even after the road outside became empty again. He did not like the arrangement. His mother had called it wisdom. He called it trouble. Behind him, Bola Williams stood beside a low table with an electronic tablet pressed against her chest. Her cream suit did not carry one crease. Her hair was pulled into a smooth bun. Her nails were the color of wine, and the perfume around her was strong enough to reach a person before her footsteps did. "She has arrived," Bola said. "I can see that. Should I remind the senior staff that she is temporary?" Chuka turned from the window. He was 39 years old, tall, broad across the shoulders, and known in Nigerian business circles for making decisions before other people had finished preparing excuses. His cold chain logistics company moved medical supplies across 11 states. Newspapers liked to describe him as self-made, though he always corrected them when he was in the mood. Nobody was self-made. Some people only forgot the hands that lifted them. "My mother said she does not want special treatment," he replied. Bola smiled. "Special treatment will defeat the purpose." The purpose. That word irritated him. For nearly 2 years, Chuka had loved Faith Coker with a seriousness that frightened him. She was not impressed by his cars, refused the first office he offered her, and once made him sit on a plastic chair for 47 minutes at her center in Surulere. Because a trainee caregiver was having a panic attack. Faith did not rush the frightened young woman because a billionaire was waiting outside. That was the first day he understood he was in danger of loving her properly. Still, love had not removed fear from him. 4 years before Faith entered his life, a woman he planned to marry had secretly collected information about his private investments and tried to use it during a bitter separation. There had been lawyers, leaked messages, lies in gossip blogs, and one meeting in which the woman Alo's older brother had asked for 12 million naira to allow peace to reign. Chuka had paid nothing, but something inside him had changed. Trust stopped being a door. It became a locked gate. When he told his mother he intended to marry Faith, Chuka Daniels asked for one private meeting with the woman. That meeting did not happen. Halima spent most of the year in Kaduna helping her elder sister recover from surgery, while Faith Alo's work schedule kept her in Lagos. Calls were postponed, travel plans shifted. Then Bola began sending Halima small warnings. Faith wanted staff payroll records. Faith had complained about the wedding budget. Faith said the house would change before she entered it. The words sounded harmless when complete. Bola never sent them complete. She sent pieces. By the time Halima returned to Lagos, suspicion had already entered the room before her. "I will observe her," Halima had told her son. "Not as your mother, not as the woman whose approval she may want. I want to see how she behaves when she believes nobody important is watching." Chuka had resisted for 6 days. On the 7th, he agreed. Now, as Mama Hawa waited under the staff awning, the shame of that agreement sat on his chest like a stone. Bola tapped her tablet. "Madam Faith will arrive by 11 for the catering review. Your mother will be assigned to laundry support and dining room cleaning. They will cross paths naturally. Do not provoke Faith." Bola lifted one eyebrow. "I do not need to provoke anybody. Character exposes itself." Chuka looked at her for a long moment. "Remember that sentence," he said quietly. Downstairs, the senior housekeeper collected Mama Hawa Alo's bag and led her through the service corridor. The difference between the front and back of the mansion was not only decoration. At the front, the floors shone, the air smelled of lilies, and each door closed without sound. At the back, metal trolleys squeaked, fans turned slowly, and handwritten instructions covered the wall beside the pantry. No sitting during duty, no personal calls, no food outside approved break. Damage will be deducted. Mama Hawa stopped before the last notice. The senior housekeeper noticed. "Do not mind the paper, Mama," she murmured. "Just do your work. If you start asking questions here, they will say your mouth is bigger than your salary." "Who wrote it?" Mama Hawa asked. The woman Elo's eyes moved towards the corridor. "Madam Bola. Does she deduct money often?" The senior housekeeper tightened her grip on the travel bag. "Mama," I said, "do not ask questions." Fear lived in her voice. Halima heard it. For 23 years before her husband died, Halima Daniels had worked in labor mediation and workplace dispute resolution. She had sat between factory owners and injured workers, between domestic staff and wealthy families, between people who believed money made them right and people too frightened to speak above a whisper. Retirement had not removed her ability to recognize a damaged system. She recognized this one before reaching the laundry room. At 9:06, Bola entered the staff corridor. Every conversation stopped. She inspected Mama Hawa from scarf to sandal, squeezing her face as though the woman had arrived carrying a bad smell. "You are the temporary laundry assistant." "Yes, madam. Look at me when I speak to you." Mama Hawa raised her head. Bola stepped closer. "This is not one roadside guest house where you can fold towels anyhow and hide inside the kitchen. The curtains in this house cost more than the building where people like you pay rent. If you damage anything, your village people will hear the price." The senior housekeeper lowered her eyes. Mama Hawa remained calm. "I understand, madam. You understand English?" "Yes, madam." "Good. Some of you will be saying yes while your brain is sleeping. You are here for 10 days. No gossiping, no wandering, no entering the family wing, and no begging guests for money. If anything goes missing, we search you first. Is that clear?" It was not a welcome. It was a warning dressed as policy. Mama Hawa nodded. Bola handed the senior housekeeper a printed sheet. "Give her uniform number 7, the grey one. That one has a torn pocket mark. Then let her sew it." "Did she come here to model?" Bola turned and walked away. The senior housekeeper waited until her heels disappeared before releasing the breath in her chest. "I am sorry, Mama." "For what?" "For the way she talks." Mama Hawa took the damaged uniform. "You did not borrow her tongue." The woman nearly smiled. Nearly. At 10:52, Faith Coker arrived through the main entrance, carrying a brown leather folder and a reusable bottle of water. She wore a dark green dress with flat shoes, no heavy jewelry and no expression of excitement at the sight of imported flowers being arranged for her wedding celebration. She stopped beside the foyer. A decorator had placed 2 enormous white structures on either side of the stairs. Each one was shaped like an arch and covered in artificial roses. A man balanced on a ladder, adjusting a gold ribbon. "How much are those?" Faith asked. Bola, who had come to receive her, smiled brightly. "They are prototypes. The final pieces will be larger." "How much?" "Madam Faith, this is your celebration. Please do not start counting every petal." Faith opened her folder. "The revised estimate says 1,460,000 naira for entrance florals. Yesterday it was 890,000. The imported roses changed. They are artificial. The quality changed." Faith looked up at the plastic flowers. One petal had already fallen to the floor. "Reduce it." Bola Alo's smile weakened. Chuka approved the expanded design. "I did not. He wants you to have the best." "The best does not mean the most expensive thing anybody can attach to an invoice." Bola Alo's fingers tightened around her tablet. "Some women pray all their lives for a man who will carry them on his head. You have one, yet you are dragging him to the market over decoration money." Faith bent and picked up the fallen petal. "My center needs 3 standing transfer aids. One costs less than this entrance. So yes, when somebody adds 570,000 naira overnight, I will ask why." Bola laughed softly. "This wedding is not your training center." "No. But waste is still waste, whether it is wearing a wedding dress or a uniform." She placed the plastic petal in Bola Alo's open hand and walked towards the dining room. From the service doorway, Mama Hawa watched her. Faith was not what Halima expected. That irritated her. Suspicion prefers easy evidence. When it does not find any, it begins searching harder. The catering review started at 11:21. Chuka joined them 10 minutes later, apologized for a call, and kissed Faith lightly on the forehead. His presence changed the room. Staff straightened. Bola became sweeter. Even the caterer Alo's voice gained a respectful softness. "Sorry, my love," Chuka said. "The Abuja shipment issue refused to die." "Did it finally die?" Faith asked. "It is breathing through one nostril." She smiled. For a few minutes, they looked like what they were. Two people who knew each other, Alo's rhythms. Chuka moved the spicy sauce away from Faith because it always triggered her reflux. Faith pushed the fried yam towards him without asking, because he would pretend not to want it and finish half the plate. Mama Hawa carried clean glasses into the room. Bola noticed her first. "Why are you walking like that?" Mama Hawa stopped. "Like what, madam?" "Like somebody invited you to sit at the table. Move faster." The caterer looked away. Chuka Alo's shoulders stiffened. But he said nothing. He had promised his mother he would not interfere unless there was danger. Any protection from him would expose the disguise. Faith looked from Bola to the maid. "Is the floor slippery?" she asked. Mama Hawa glanced down. "Small, Ma." Water entered near the pantry. Faith turned to the closest staff member. "Please put a warning sign there before somebody falls." Bola waved one hand. "She is only slow because some people believe old age is a job qualification." Faith did not laugh. Her age is exactly why the wet floor matters. Bola Ala's lips pressed together. Mama Hawa placed the glasses on the side table. As she turned, one glass slipped against another and gave a sharp chink. Her hands were steady, but she allowed her shoulders to hunch. Faith noticed the torn pocket in the grey uniform. "Your pocket is open," she said. "I will sew it later, Ma. Please do. It can catch on a handle." Fuller stepped in before the conversation could continue. "Mama Hawa, laundry room. Now." The old woman left. At the doorway, she heard Faith ask, "Why is she wearing a damaged uniform?" "It was the available one." "Then replace it." "It is not necessary. It is not decorative. It is work equipment." That sentence followed Halima to the laundry room. By 2:38, 3 delivery vans had arrived. The house filled with fabric samples, wine crates, folded chairs, and boxes of customized napkins. Bola moved between rooms issuing orders as though a military operation had begun. Mama Hawa received 12 silk blouses belonging to Halima Daniels, supposedly sent from Kaduna for inspection before the wedding events. One was ivory with hand-finished beading along the sleeves. A care label inside clearly stated dry clean only. The senior housekeeper placed the blouse aside. "This one goes to the specialist cleaner." At that moment, Bola entered. "Why is it there?" "It is dry clean only, Ma. The cleaner will not return until Thursday. Madam Halima may arrive before then. Wash it by hand." The senior housekeeper hesitated. "The beads can loosen." Bola Alo's eyes narrowed. "Are you teaching me my work?" "No, Ma, then wash it." She pointed at Mama Hawa. "You, do it." Mama Hawa examined the label. "Madam, this fabric may shrink if water touches." Bola slapped the table with her palm. The room went still. "Did I ask a roadside washerwoman to lecture me about silk? Wash the blouse. If you are too useless to touch rich people Alo's clothes, say it now and carry your bag." The insult hung in the steam-filled air. Mama Hawa looked at the blouse, then at the frightened senior housekeeper. "I will wash it." She used cold water, mild soap, and the gentlest motion possible. Still, 2 beads loosened from the sleeve, and a small section of the hem puckered as the fabric dried. Bola returned at 5:14. Her scream reached the kitchen. "What have you done?" Mama Hawa stood beside the ironing board. "Madam, I warned that water could damage it." "You warned me?" Bola snatched the blouse and held it up. "See this village destruction. Do you know this blouse cost 680,000 naira? The senior housekeeper moved forward. Ma, I also said. Shut your mouth before I add your own salary to it. Bola turned to Mama Hawa. 3 months, Lope. I will deduct everything. Mama Hawa blinked behind her thick glasses. 3 months? You are lucky I am not calling police for deliberate damage. Madam, the blouse can be repaired. Repair? Bola laughed. With what? Thread from your village market. Your whole life is repair. Torn shoe, torn bag, torn future. Do not bring that suffering mentality to expensive things. The senior housekeeper Alo's face tightened. Mama Hawa said nothing. At the doorway, another voice spoke. Who authorized a 3-month salary deduction? Faith stood there. She had returned for the brown folder she left beside the dining room chair. The shouting pulled her down the service corridor, where she now saw Bola holding a damp blouse like a prosecutor displaying evidence. Bota Allah's expression changed. It is a staff matter. Then answer the question as the person managing staff. This woman destroyed Madam Halima Alo's blouse. Faith stepped closer and examined the care label. Dry clean only. Yes, why was it washed? Bola pointed at Mama Hawa, because she did not know better. The senior housekeeper looked at the floor. Mama Hawa looked at Faith. Faith noticed both reactions. Who instructed her? Bola folded the blouse over her arm. I do not remember every small instruction I give in this house. I remember, Mama Hawa said quietly. Madam told me to wash it by hand. Bola Alo's head snapped towards her. Are you calling me a liar? I am saying, what happened? You see this woman? Poverty has entered her brain and pushed out respect. Faith lifted one hand. Enough. Bola stared at her. Faith picked up the 2 loose beads from the table and placed them in her palm. Was Mama Hawa trained to care for this fabric? She claimed she could wash clothes. That is not the same thing. This is not a labor tribunal, Faith. No, it is a laundry room, which makes the question simpler. Faith turned to the senior housekeeper. Is there a written care procedure for high-value garments? The woman glanced at Bola. Faith noticed. You can answer. No, Ma. Is there a list showing which garments go to the specialist cleaner? No, Ma. We normally separate them ourselves. Did you separate this one? The woman swallowed. Yes, Ma. Bola Alo's voice became dangerous. Be careful. Faith looked directly at her. Do not threaten her for answering. I am not threatening anybody. You told her to be careful immediately after she contradicted you. A dry silence filled the room. Chuka appeared at the far end of the corridor. He had followed Faith after realizing she was no longer in the dining room. One look at her face told him this was no small matter. What happened? He asked. Bola spoke first. The new woman damaged Mum Alo's blouse, and Faith has turned it into a national conference. Faith ignored the insult. Bola wants to deduct 3 months of the woman Alo's salary. Chuka frowned. For one blouse? It cost 680,000, Bola said. Faith held up the care label. She was instructed to wash a dry, clean-only item after the senior housekeeper separated it. Bola looked at Chuka. Oga, we cannot run this house if every worker begins arguing about instructions. Poor people are becoming too bold these days because somebody is always ready to carry them on her head. Faith Arlo's gaze sharpened. Chuka rubbed his thumb along his jaw. Can the blouse be repaired? I will find out, Faith replied. And the real repair cost should be established before anybody talks about money. Even then, responsibility must include the person who gave the wrong instruction. Bola laughed in disbelief. So management should pay when a maid Alo's hand destroys something. If management created the condition, yes. Mama Hawa lowered her head so nobody would see the emotion passing across her face. For years, Halima had told wealthy employers almost those exact words. Now she was hearing them from the woman she had entered this house to test. Chuka looked at Bola. No deduction until the repair assessment is done. Bola Ulo's nostrils flared. Sir, that is my decision. Faith turned to Mama Hawa. Do not throw away any beads. Put them in a small envelope. Yes, Ma. And write down what happened while it is fresh. Time, instruction, who was present. Bola scoffed. For a blouse? For any dispute. Memory becomes convenient when people are afraid. Faith picked up her folder and left the room. Chuka followed her. Mama Hawa watched them go, then looked at Bola. For one brief second, Bola Ulo's polished face lost its mask. What showed underneath was not irritation. It was fear. That evening, at 6:03, the specialist cleaner confirmed the blouse could be repaired for 38,500 naira. Not 680,000. Not 3 months. Salary 38,500. Faith sent the assessment to Chuka and copied Bola. She added one sentence. No amount should be deducted from Mama Hawa because she followed a direct instruction after warning against it. Bola read the message twice. Then she opened a spreadsheet on her private laptop. In one column were staff salaries. In another were deductions. Uniform replacement. Transport support. Breakage. Emergency advance. Food contribution. Many of the amounts had never reached the people whose names appeared beside them. At the bottom of the sheet, a figure glowed beneath the white light of the screen. 17,850,000 naira. Faith Coker was no longer only an inconvenient bride. She was a risk. The next morning began before sunrise. At 5:32, the compound lights were still on when the kitchen staff started boiling water. By 6, trays were moving upstairs. By 7, the laundry machines were already turning, and the first vendor had arrived with 24 cartons of bottled drinks. Mama Hawa had slept for less than 5 hours. Her assigned room was behind the staff quarters, a narrow space with one small window and a standing fan that made more noise than wind. She woke with stiffness in her lower back, prayed quietly, and checked the small medicine packet hidden beneath her folded clothes. 1 tablet after breakfast. That was the instruction. Breakfast did not come. At 6:47, the senior housekeeper placed a plate of bread and egg on the staff table. Bola entered before anyone sat down. Who told all of you that today is Sunday? Nobody answered. The chair samples will arrive by 8. The glassware must be counted before 9. The guest rooms must be opened for inspection. Eat when the morning work is finished. A kitchen assistant looked at the wall clock. Ma, some of us have been here since 5. Bola turned slowly. And did the sun complain before rising? You people collect salary and still behave as if work is an insult. The assistant lowered her face. Bola pointed at the plates. Cover them, move. Mama Hawa slipped her medicine back into her pocket. By 8:13, Faith was on the 3rd mainland bridge, trapped behind a line of vehicles that moved 3 meters and stopped again. She had spent the previous night reviewing 3 versions of the wedding budget, and one thing kept disturbing her. The numbers were always clean, but the explanations were not. Transport support for temporary staff appeared twice. Uniform replacement appeared in every monthly statement. Late-night meal allowance increased, yet the catering estimate stated that vendors would feed only guests. Faith was not an accountant. She knew enough to know what she did not know. She called Chuka through the car speaker. He answered on the 2nd ring. Good morning, trouble. Good morning, man who approves artificial flowers without reading invoices. He laughed. You have not forgiven the flowers. The flowers have done nothing. Their invoice is the criminal. Faith. I am serious. I know. That is why it is funny. Traffic rolled forward. A Danfo bus squeezed between lanes, its conductor leaning outside and shouting towards passengers at the roadside. Faith changed the subject. Who handles household payroll? Bola prepares it. Finance releases it. Who verifies deductions? A pause. Bola, I suppose. Who checks transport claims? Why? Because they appear twice in the wedding planning account. Chuka Alo's voice became guarded. You are reviewing household accounts now. I am reviewing the budget carrying my name. Then ask about the wedding lines. Do not turn it into an investigation of my staff. Faith tightened her grip on the steering wheel. Your staff are part of the event. Bola has managed that house for 7 years. And that makes questions illegal? No. It makes trust reasonable. Trust is not the absence of records, Chuka. Another pause. He exhaled. I have an investor call in 4 minutes. Fine. We will talk later. You always say that when the question is entering somewhere uncomfortable. And you always keep pushing when timing is bad. The line went quiet. Neither of them ended the call for 3 seconds. Then Chuka did. Faith drove the rest of the way with the radio off. At the mansion, Bola had already turned the morning into punishment. One delivery arrived with the wrong napkin color. Although the error came from the supplier, Bola blamed the staff member who signed the delivery note. She ordered the young woman to stand beside the cartons until the supplier returned, as if her body could prevent fabric from remaining champagne instead of ivory. The woman stood for 92 minutes. No chair, no water. Mama Hahua passed her twice while carrying folded linen. On the third trip, she placed a cup beside the cartons. Bola saw it. Who told you to give her water? Mama Hahua stopped. She has been standing since morning, madam. Is she sugar? No, madam. Will she melt? Mama Hahua looked at the woman Alo's dry lips. No, madam. Then carry your cup. You temporary workers always arrive with empty pockets and full opinions. The woman beside the cartons whispered, Please, Mama, take it. I do not want problem. Mama Hahua lifted the cup. Bola smiled. Good. At least one person here knows her level. At 9:46, Faith entered through the main hall and heard the last sentence. She turned towards the service corridor. What happened? Bola answered without hesitation. Nothing. Staff discipline. Faith looked at the woman beside the cartons. Why is she standing there? She accepted the wrong delivery. Was she responsible for selecting the color? No. Did the delivery note state the wrong color? No. It stated ivory. Then what exactly is she being disciplined for? For not opening and checking every carton before signing. Faith counted the boxes with her eyes. 31. Was she given time to check 31 cartons before the driver left? Bola Alo's face hardened. Must every small issue become a courtroom when you enter this house? No. But punishment should at least be connected to the mistake. Faith walked to the woman. Please sit down. The woman did not move. She looked at Bola. Faith saw it. That look disturbed her more than the punishment. Sit, Faith repeated gently. Nobody will deduct your pay for obeying me. Bola gave a short laugh. You cannot promise that. You do not manage this house. Faith turned. Correct. So tell me plainly. Will her pay be deducted because she sits after standing for more than 1 hour? The corridor became silent. Bola knew Chuka Alo's fiancé was not yet her employer. She also knew too many ears were listening. No, she said. The woman sat. Mama Hahua placed the water beside her again. This time, Bola walked away. Faith watched her leave. How long are the staff shifts during the event week? The senior housekeeper answered carefully. It depends, Ma. On what? Work. What time did you start today? 5. When will you finish? Maybe 10. Maybe 11. Your transport home? The woman gave a tired little smile. We find our way. Faith Alo's brows drew together. The budget has transport support. Nobody spoke. Mama Hawa looked at the floor. Faith felt the first cold movement of certainty inside her. Money was being claimed for something the workers were not receiving. "Have you eaten?" she asked. The senior housekeeper hesitated. That was answer enough. Faith walked straight towards the dining room, where Bola was arranging sample menus. "Food first," Faith said. Bola did not look up. "Excuse me? The staff started at 5 and have not eaten. Stop the work for 20 minutes. This is not your center, where everybody comes with one emotional story. People do not need an emotional story to eat breakfast. The work is behind schedule. Then the schedule is defective." Bola put down a silver spoon. "Faith, you need to understand something before you enter this family. A large house cannot run on feelings. If you start petting workers because they squeeze their faces, they will climb your head and begin to dance there." Faith Alo's voice remained calm. "Rest is not petting. Food is not a favor. Transport money that appears in a budget is not decoration." Bola Alo's eyes flickered. Faith caught it. "Why are the workers paying for their own transport after 11 at night? You have been interviewing them." "I asked one question. And now you think you understand everything?" "No. That is why I am asking more." Bola crossed her arms. "Chuka pays these people better than most homes in Lagos." Faith stepped closer. "High salary does not purchase the right to humiliate people." The words landed between them. At the far end of the dining room, Mama Hawa stood with folded napkins pressed against her chest. Her breathing changed. That morning, Halima had expected to judge whether Faith was humble enough for wealth. Instead, she was watching the woman defend people whose names she did not even know, and nobody important was praising her. At 10:02, the work stopped for 20 minutes. The staff ate. Faith did not stand over them smiling like a benefactor. She returned to the dining room and made 3 calls. One was to the caterer. One was to the transport vendor. The third was to Chuka. He answered with a clipped tone. "I am between meetings." "Then listen between them. People working in your house are doing 15-hour shifts without guaranteed meals or transport." "Faith, I told you we would discuss it. The event is in less than 3 weeks. Bola says you stopped work, or for 20 minutes so people could eat. You cannot arrive and override the person managing operations. Then ask your operations manager why transport is billed but not provided." A beat of silence. Chuka Alo's tone softened slightly. "What do you mean?" "I mean exactly that. Send me the lines." "I already did." "Fine, I will look. And the staff need written shifts. Faith, they need proper breaks. Faith, they need a safe way home after late duty." His patience broke. "This is my house, not a public campaign." She went quiet. He heard his own words after speaking them. Too late. Faith looked through the dining room window at 3 workers eating quickly from enamel plates, as though somebody might punish them if chewing took too long. "Yes," she said. "It is your house. That is exactly the problem." She ended the call. Chuka remained in his office with the phone against his ear. Across the table, 2 senior managers pretended not to have heard. He placed the phone face down. For the rest of the meeting, he did not absorb one complete sentence. At 1:26 that afternoon, Mama Hawa Alo's hands began to shake. She had eaten half a piece of bread during the short break. But the food came too late, and the morning work had been heavy. She was carrying a tray of clean cups through the pantry when her vision blurred at the edges. The tray tilted. One cup slid towards the floor. Faith caught it. "Mama?" "I am fine, Ma." "You are not." "I am managing." "Sit down." Bola, passing through the doorway, hissed. "Again?" "This woman has turned sitting into her profession." Faith ignored her. She touched the back of her fingers to Mama Hawa Alo's forehead, then noticed the fine tremor in the woman Alo's hand. "When did you eat?" "This morning. What time?" Mama Hawa did not answer. Faith saw the medicine packet partly exposed in her torn pocket. She removed nothing. She only pointed. "What medication is that?" Mama Hawa swallowed. "For sugar, Ma. Did you take it?" "No." "Why?" "I was supposed to eat first." Faith crouched in front of her. "Are you dizzy?" "Small." "Can you see clearly?" "Not fully." Faith turned. "Bring juice." Bola folded her arms. "The catering review starts in 12 minutes. Bring juice. I did not employ a sick old woman. If she cannot work, let her go home." Faith stood so quickly that the chair legs scraped against the tiles. "Ah, this is not a discussion." Bola stared at her. Faith Alo's voice dropped. "Juice. Now." The senior housekeeper ran to the fridge. Faith gave Mama Hawa a small amount, waited, then asked the security driver to bring a car. She cancelled the menu session and accompanied the old woman to a private clinic in Lekki. Bola remained in the pantry, furious. "No photograph," Faith told the driver before they left. "No message in any staff group. Her health is her own information." Mama Hawa heard every word. At the clinic, the doctor confirmed mild hypoglycemia and dehydration. No admission was required, but rest, food, and proper medication timing were necessary. Faith paid the bill, only after asking Mama Hawa whether she had insurance or wanted the amount recorded as an advance. The question surprised Halima. Most rich people believed paying gave them ownership of another person Alo's gratitude. Faith did not. "I can pay you back, Ma," Mama Hawa said. "We will settle it later. First, eat." The clinic attendant brought rice and stew in a covered plate. Faith sat beside the bed, answering messages from her center while Mama Hawa ate slowly. For nearly 10 minutes, neither spoke. Then Mama Hawa asked, "Why did you cancel your wedding work because of me?" Faith looked up. "Because you were unwell. The wedding is important. So is your blood sugar. You do not know me. I do not need your biography before recognizing an emergency." Mama Hawa smiled faintly. "Some people will say you are doing all this because you want workers to praise you. People say many things when basic decency embarrasses them." The old woman studied her face. "Do you want to change everybody in that house when you marry Oga Chuka?" Faith leaned back in the plastic chair. The question sounded simple. It was not. "I cannot change people," she said. "And I do not want to enter anybody Alo's family as a conqueror. But I will not live in a house where fear is called discipline. What if the family says it is their way? Then I will not pretend their way is right, because the curtains are expensive." Mama Hawa lowered her eyes to the food. "And if Oga Chuka refuses?" she asked. Faith Alo's answer took longer. "Then we will have to decide whether love is enough when values are not." The old woman stopped eating. There was no audience in that clinic, no camera, no guest, no son listening from behind a door, only truth. By 4:18, "Faith," returned Mama Hawa to the mansion with written instructions from the doctor. She handed the paper to the senior housekeeper, not Bola. "Food before medication. No heavy lifting today. Let her rest." Bola appeared in the corridor. "You took a member of my staff out without approval. Your staff member was medically unstable. She could have gone with a driver. She could barely see, and the tasting was cancelled. It can be rescheduled." Bola gave a bitter smile. "You see, this is what I told Oga Chuka. You want this house to bend every time somebody presents suffering." Faith Alo's expression did not change. "No. I want the house to stop creating avoidable suffering and then blaming people for showing symptoms." Bola stepped closer. "Be careful, Faith. You are not yet madam of this house." "I know." "Then stop behaving as if the keys are already in your hand." Faith Alo's eyes moved to the ring of keys at Bola Alo's waist. Maybe too many keys are in one person Alo's hand already. Bola Alo's smile disappeared. That night, Chuka arrived home at 9:11. Faith was waiting in the study. On the table lay 6 pages, clipped together. At the top, she had written Household Dignity Charter. He removed his jacket slowly. Bola says you accused her of starving workers. I said, the workers started at 5 and had not eaten by nearly 10. She says breakfast was delayed because of deliveries. That is what happened. So why use the word starving? I did not use it, she did. Chuka loosened his tie. What is this? A proposal. He read the first lines. Written job duties, fixed pay dates, documented deductions, rest periods, late shift transport, private complaint channel, no public humiliation, evidence preservation before disciplinary action. He dropped the pages onto the table. You drafted employment rules for my home. I drafted basic protections for people working inside it. You have spent 2 days here. And in 2 days I saw enough to know the current system depends on fear. He turned away and walked to the window. Lagos lights glittered beyond the walls, distant and restless. Bola has been with this family for 7 years, he said. You keep saying that as if time cannot make wrongdoing more efficient. She managed this place while my mother was in Kaduna. She handled my father Alo's memorial. She kept staff during the fuel shortage. She knows every contractor and every account. That is too much power for one person. Chuka turned. You are accusing her of theft now? I am saying one person should not select suppliers, confirm delivery, approve adjustments and verify staff deductions. This is a home, Faith, not one of your governance workshops. Money does not stop needing controls because it is spent under a private roof. He stared at her. Do you hear yourself? We are supposed to be planning our marriage, yet you are auditing my house. And do you hear yourself? You think asking whether people receive budgeted transport is an attack on you. I think you entered my home and decided everybody was oppressed. No. They showed me. Who? Faith went still. The question came too sharply. She picked up the pages. I will not give you names, so people can be punished for answering me. You believe I would punish them. I believe Bola might. And you have made it clear that you trust her. Chuka Alo's face hardened. You want access, authority, and policy control before the wedding, but somehow I am wrong for asking what exactly you are doing. Faith looked at him as if he had spoken from a place she had not known existed. Access? She repeated. You requested payroll records for wedding staff costs. You questioned transport, uniforms, deductions, suppliers, because the numbers conflict. And perhaps you should allow the people responsible to resolve it. Chuka, the person responsible may be the problem. The sentence struck him like disrespect. He did not shout. His anger became colder. You have not married me yet. Faith Alo's eyes shone, but her voice remained steady. That sentence has nothing to do with accounts. It has everything to do with boundaries. No, it has to do with power. You are reminding me that I have none. I am reminding you that this is my family. And I thought you were asking me to join it. They stood on opposite sides of the table. Between them lay the 6 pages nobody touched. At last, Faith placed her engagement ring against her palm, not removing it, only feeling its weight. I am going home, she said. Faith, we should stop before one of us says something that cannot be put back. She left the study. Chuka did not follow. From the dark section of the upper corridor, Mama Hawa had heard only the last few lines. She remained still until the front door closed below. Then she entered the study without knocking. Chuka looked up. Mum, do not call me that while I am dressed like this. He rubbed both hands over his face. I cannot do this anymore. Neither can I. He stared at her. Halima removed the thick glasses and placed them on the table. Her eyes looked older without them. "I came to examine that woman," she said. "But every day, this house is answering questions I did not ask. What does that mean?" "It means your workers are afraid." Bola is strict. Strictness and humiliation are not twins. She has kept this place organized. At what cost? Chuka looked away. Halima picked up the household dignity charter and read the first page. "You rejected this?" "I did not reject it. I rejected the way she entered and began taking control." Halima Alo's eyes rose. "Taking control of what? Break times? That is not the point." "It is exactly the point. Mum, you are the one who wanted to test her." The words cut. Halima accepted them without flinching. "Yes, and I was wrong." Chuka Artho's expression shifted. "I have not finished observing," she continued. "But I am already wrong for entering her life under a lie. Fear advised me, and I called it wisdom. You think she is genuine?" "I think she did not know anybody important was watching when she sat beside me in that clinic." Chuka lowered his eyes. Halima placed the pages back on the table. "The question is no longer whether she is suitable for this family." "What is the question?" "Whether this family is suitable for her." She put on the glasses and left him alone. The following day, Faith did not come to Ikoyi. She spent the morning at her caregiver training center in Surulere, where the walls were painted pale yellow and the reception chairs did not match. By noon, she had supervised a transfer practice session, corrected 2 assessment forms, and rejected a donation proposal that required trainees to pose in matching shirts for promotional photographs. "Why reject it?" one of her coordinators asked. "The money is useful. The money comes with ownership of their faces," Faith replied. They were not asked. At 2:09, her phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number appeared. "Good afternoon, Ma. Please. I am the senior housekeeper from the Daniels residence. I hope no problem. I need advice, but I am afraid." Faith read it twice. Then she replied, "Do not send any document yet. First, tell me whether you are in immediate danger of losing your job or being harmed." The answer came 5 minutes later. "Not harmed. May be dismissed if Madame Bola knows." Faith typed carefully. "Keep original records in a safe place you control. Do not alter them. Do not confront her alone. We can speak outside work hours, but I cannot promise an outcome or employment protection." That evening, they met in a quiet food court near Maryland after the woman Alo's shift. The senior housekeeper arrived, carrying a black nylon folder beneath her shawl. She looked behind her twice before sitting. "I do not want trouble, Ma." "Then do not give me anything you are not ready to discuss." The woman opened the folder. Inside were photocopies of pay slips, handwritten deduction notes, and screenshots of messages. Faith examined the first page. The salary figure was 78,000 naira. The transfer received was 61,500. "What are these deductions?" "Uniform, food, and transport." "Do you receive transport?" "No, Ma. New uniform." The woman looked down at her faded sleeve. "Not since last year." "Food contribution?" "They deduct it, but sometimes we bring food ourselves." Faith moved to the second page, then the third. The pattern repeated. Different workers. Different amounts. Same vague descriptions. "Why did you keep these?" Faith asked. "My husband taught me never to throw away salary papers. He died 3 years ago, but I continued." "Does Bola know?" "No." "Good. Keep the originals." The woman pushed the folder towards Faith. "Take the copies." Faith did not touch them immediately. "Do you understand that this could lead to an investigation?" "Yes. Your name may eventually be known." The woman Alo's fingers trembled. "I know. And I am not your lawyer." "I know. Why now?" The woman Alo's eyes filled. Because yesterday, when you told that old woman to sit, she looked at you as if somebody had remembered she was a person. I realized I have been waiting 7 years for somebody to remember all of us. Faith looked down at the papers. She took the copies. From now on, she said, write down dates, amounts, and exact words. Do not exaggerate anything. Truth does not need decoration. The woman nodded. Faith added, and do not sign blank forms, not even if they say it is routine. At the mansion, Bola opened the staff attendance log at 9:38 that night. The senior housekeeper had signed out 26 minutes later than usual. Bola stared at the line. Then she checked the gate record. The woman had left in a car booked through a ride service, not the usual bus. Suspicion sharpened inside her. She opened the staff messaging group and typed one sentence. Tomorrow morning, all payroll acknowledgements must be re-signed due to an audit formatting error. Then she printed 8 blank acknowledgement sheets. At 7:41 the next morning, Mama Hawa saw Bola placing them on the staff table. Sign before duty, Bola ordered. The senior housekeeper picked up one sheet. Ma, the amount is empty. It will be entered after finance confirms. But you told us never to sign incomplete documents. Bola Alo's gaze settled on her. Who has been teaching you law? Nobody moved. The woman put down the pen. I want the amount first, Ma. Bola smiled without warmth. So your mouth has grown overnight. Mama Hawa stepped beside the table. She is right, madam. A person should not sign what is empty. Bola turned on her. Did I invite the council of old women? No, madam. Then close your mouth before I write 0 as your salary. Mama Hawa looked at the empty forms. A small red mark had been printed in the lower corner of each page. The mark matched the code she had seen on expense adjustment papers in Chuka Alo's study years earlier, when Bola first began helping with household administration. Bola was not only bullying staff, she was manufacturing consent. That afternoon, Halima found Chuka alone in the garden pavilion. I need the payroll audit file, she said. He looked up from his laptop. Why? Because blank acknowledgement forms were placed before workers this morning. His face changed. Blank? Yes. Did you photograph them? No. I will not steal evidence and destroy the investigation before it begins. But I wrote the time and the names of those present. Chuka closed the laptop. I will speak to Bola. Not yet. Mum? If she is doing what I suspect, confrontation will make records disappear. He stood. You came here to observe Faith, not run an undercover operation against my household manager. And Faith came here to marry you, not discover that people are signing away money they never received. The air between mother and son tightened. Chuka looked towards the main building. What exactly do you suspect? Halima answered slowly. I suspect the person you trust to protect this house has learned that your absence is more valuable than your presence. At that same moment, inside the upstairs office, Bola connected an external drive to her laptop. She copied the payroll spreadsheet. Then she deleted 3 folders from the shared household computer. One was titled Staff Transport Support. One was titled Uniform Replacement. The last was titled Adjustments, so private. When the progress bar reached 100%, she removed the drive and slipped it into the lining of her handbag. Then she called Faith. Her voice was gentle when the call connected. Faith, my sister, I think we started on the wrong foot. Faith did not answer immediately. Bola continued before the silence could reject her. I have been under pressure. You have also been under pressure. Wedding planning can make 2 sensible women behave like people fighting over the last seat in a bus. Faith leaned against the corridor wall of her center. Through the open training room, she could hear a tutor explaining safe lifting technique. What do you want, Bola? To settle this misunderstanding. Which misunderstanding? The impression that I mistreat staff or misuse funds. Come tomorrow. I will show you the records connected to your event. No drama, no accusations, woman to woman. Faith Allow's eyes narrowed. Will Chuka be there? He has meetings. This does not need to become another quarrel between both of you. That sentence was too smooth. Faith almost refused. Then she remembered the copied payslips inside her locked desk drawer. 10:00, she said. Perfect. The call ended. Bola stared at her phone and smiled. She had already placed a small recorder beneath the centerpiece on the dining room side table. It would capture every word. Later, words could be cut, moved, and sharpened until concern sounded like ambition. People believed recordings because machines did not appear to have motives. The people operating them did. At 9:58 the following morning, Faith arrived at the mansion with her brown folder. Chuka had left for Victoria Island. Mama Hawa was ironing napkins near the pantry, while Bola waited in the dining room beside 3 open files and 2 cups of tea. Please sit, Bola said. Faith remained standing until she had looked at the pages nearest her. Wedding vendors only, as you requested. I requested staff-related costs attached to the event. They are here. Faith sat. For the next 43 minutes, Bola showed her invoices that were technically real but carefully selected. A transport company had issued bills. A uniform supplier had delivered fabric. A catering vendor had signed meal estimates. What the papers did not show was whether the workers received the service being billed. Faith tapped one invoice. This says late-night transport for 26 staff members. Yes. Which dates? The schedule changed. Where is the trip log? With the vendor. Payment was approved without it. Faith, this is a household. We do not demand a board resolution before somebody enters a bus. I am asking for evidence that the bus existed. Bola leaned back. You see why people worry. Who worries? Those who have known Chuka longer than 2 years. Faith Arlo's face remained still. Bola stirred tea she had not tasted. You are not yet married. Yet you want to redesign how his home is managed, question people who served his parents, and insert yourself into private accounts. I asked whether workers received money budgeted for them. You always make it sound noble. It is a straightforward question. Nothing is straightforward when a woman is preparing to enter a billionaire Ilo's family. Faith closed the file. Say what you came to say. Bola lowered her spoon. This house will change when you enter it. Those were your words. No. I said the house needs to change before I enter it. Same meaning. No. It is not. How? One says I intend to take control after marriage. The other says I will not join a system I believe is wrong. Bola Alo's smile thinned. You are very skilled with language. I am careful because people like you use careless summaries as weapons. Under the centerpiece, the recorder captured every syllable. Bola folded her hands. So you admit the house must change? Yes. And you intend to change it? I intend to insist on proper standards wherever my name and life are involved. Even if Chuka disagrees? Faith looked towards the tall windows. Rain clouds were gathering beyond the compound wall. If Chuka disagrees with basic dignity, then we have a larger problem than wedding flowers. Would you leave him? I will not discuss my relationship with you. Because the answer is yes? Because it is none of your business. Bola reached for another file. Madame Hallimer built this family with her husband. Do you think she will enjoy returning to Lagos and finding that a woman she has never met has written rules for her own house? Faith Alo's eyes moved to the file. Perhaps she will read them before deciding. And if she rejects them, then I will decide what I can live with. Bola Alo's voice softened. Faith, this family is bigger than you. Faith stood. Human dignity is bigger than all of us. She collected her folder. Bola Alo's hand moved beneath the table and pressed the recorder button off. As Faith reached the doorway, Mama Hawa entered, carrying folded napkins. Their eyes met. "Mama, how are you feeling?" Faith asked. "I am better, Ma. Did you eat before your medicine?" "Yes, Ma." Bola laughed. "She has asked 3 people to witness her breakfast. Your rescue mission has made her famous." Faith looked at Mama Hawa. "You do not need witnesses to eat." Then she left. Bola waited until the front door closed before pulling the recorder from beneath the centerpiece. Mama Hawa saw it. Their eyes met. Bola held the small device between 2 fingers. Wedding note-taking. Mama Hawa said nothing. "You have become very observant," Bola added. "I am old, madam. Old people look because running is difficult." Bola gave a cold smile. "Make sure you do not look at what will blind you." That afternoon, Bola transferred the recording to her laptop. The complete conversation lasted 47 minutes and 12 seconds. The version she sent Chuka lasted 28 seconds. Faith Alo's voice said, "This house will change when I enter it. Then, I intend to insist on proper standards wherever my name and life are involved. Then, if Chuka disagrees, we have a larger problem. Then, I will decide what I can live with." The spaces between the statements were clean enough to escape casual listening. Background noise covered 2 small cuts. Bola attached a message. "Sir, I did not want to send this, but I believe you should hear how she speaks when you are absent." Chuka listened in his car outside a warehouse in Apapa. The first time, he felt heat rise behind his neck. The second time, he heard his old fear speaking louder than Faith Alo's voice. By the third time, he had convinced himself that caution was intelligence. He called her. Faith answered while signing trainee evaluation forms. "Hello. Did you meet Bola this morning?" "Yes. Why did you not tell me?" "It was meant to review event expenses." "I planned to call after work. What did you tell her about changing my house?" Faith Alo's pen stopped. "What did she tell you?" "I asked a question. And I asked one." Chuka switched the call to his car speakers and played the clip. Faith listened without interrupting. When it ended, she remained quiet. "Well?" Chuka asked. "That recording is cut." "Of course." The word came too quickly. Faith Alo's face changed, though he could not see it. "What does that mean?" "It means you will say anything uncomfortable is manipulated." "No." "It means I remember the complete sentences leaving my own mouth." "You said the house would change." "I said it needed to change before I entered it." "Same meaning." Faith closed her eyes. Bola had used the exact phrase. "Did you ask for the full recording?" "I heard enough." "No, Chuka. You heard what somebody selected for you." "You always have an explanation, and you always have suspicion waiting before I arrive." He gripped the steering wheel. "Do not turn this around." "I do not need to. It is already facing you." "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means a woman who has controlled your house for years sent you a secret recording. After I questioned accounts she manages, and your first instinct was not to ask why she recorded me." Chuka went silent. Faith continued. "You asked whether I met her. You did not ask whether I consented to being recorded." "This is Nigeria, Faith. People record conversations every day. Common does not mean honest. I am trying to protect myself. From me." The question broke something open between them. Chuka leaned back against the seat. Outside, a truck driver shouted at a security guard near the warehouse gate. Horns pressed into the humid afternoon. "I have been used before," he said. Faith Alo's voice softened, but not enough to hide the wound. "I know. You cannot understand what that did. I have spent 2 years trying to understand. Then understand why I need certainty. No human being can give you certainty. We can give you patterns, truth, accountability, and choice. But what you want is a guarantee that nobody will ever hurt you again." He said nothing. And to get that guarantee, Faith continued, you are willing to treat me like a suspect. That is not fair. Neither is listening to a cut recording and asking me to prove my own sentence. Did you say you would leave if I disagreed? I said I would decide what I could live with. Any adult entering marriage should do that. Why does every discussion with you become a lecture? Because every concern from me becomes disloyalty to you. Chuka Al's voice rose. You entered my house, and within days you decided everybody was suffering under me. I decided people were being mistreated under systems carrying your name. Same thing. No. Responsibility is not the same as intention. I am tired of these distinctions. That is because the distinctions require you to look at yourself. He hit the steering wheel with the heel of his palm. The horn sounded. Faith heard it through the call. For several seconds neither spoke, then Chuka said, perhaps we should pause wedding planning. Faith looked at the engagement ring on her finger. Pain moved through her, slow and clean. Perhaps we should, she replied. He had expected resistance. Her agreement frightened him more. Faith, I have a class waiting. She ended the call. At the mansion, Mama Hawa entered Chuka Alo's study at 6:22 that evening. He was standing beside the drinks cabinet, holding a glass he had not touched. You listened to the recording, she said. He turned. How do you know? I saw Bola remove the recorder after Faith left. His face tightened. You saw it? Yes. And you said nothing? I am saying it now. You should have stopped her. Halima removed the thick glasses. Interesting. You agreed to place me in this house under a false identity to observe Faith, yet you are shocked that secrecy can spread. This is different. How? Bola recorded her without permission, and Faith gave me permission to study her. Chuka set down the glass. The sound was harder than necessary. Halima placed the napkin bundle she carried on a chair. Play the recording. He played the 28-second clip. Halima listened once. It is cut. She says the same thing. Because it is obvious. How can both of you know? I was in the doorway when part of the conversation happened. Faith said, this house needs to change before I enter it. Bola Alo's version removed words. Chuka stared at the phone. Ask for the complete recording, Halima said. He called Bola immediately. She answered with a concerned softness. Sir? Send the full conversation. A pause. Full conversation? The recording you made. I only recorded a brief section because the discussion became uncomfortable. My mother saw the device before Faith arrived. Silence. Chuka Alo's eyes narrowed. Bola recovered quickly. Your mother? He realized his mistake. Halima closed her eyes. Chuka said Mama Hawa told her. Another pause. Oh, Bola replied. That old woman has been carrying gossip like market basket. Send the full file. I deleted it after extracting the relevant part. My phone memory was full. You used a separate recorder. How did Lan? Send what remains. I already sent it. Chuka ended the call. Halima put on her glasses again. She knows Mama Hawa is connected to me now. She does not know who you are. She knows enough to become dangerous. Chuka began pacing. You reveal yourself, I suspend Bola, and we call an auditor. Halima shook her head. If you suspend her with only suspicion, records may vanish before an auditor touches them. Some records already vanished. You know? The shared drive shows deleted folders. Our technology team can restore some, but I have not authorized access, because Bola monitors household activity. Halima stared at him. You suspected this and still accused Faith. His face carried shame. I did not connect it fast enough. You connected your fear faster. The sentence struck. Halima picked up the household dignity charter from his desk. It was creased now from repeated handling. We reveal everything at the family dinner tomorrow. she said. Before the public event. Chuka nodded. Faith must hear the truth from both of us, Halima continued. Not as a reward, not because she passed, because we violated her trust. Chuka looked towards the dark window. She may leave. Yes, you say it easily. No, I say it truthfully. The next day did not give them the chance. At 7:08 in the morning, the chair supplier called to report that the event date had been entered incorrectly. At 8:31, one refrigeration unit failed in the service kitchen. At 9:15, two donor representatives moved their arrival forward by a day. By noon, the family dinner was postponed because Chuka was called into an emergency meeting concerning a delayed shipment of temperature-sensitive medication. Bola moved through the confusion like somebody creating order. Nobody noticed. She was also creating an escape. She transferred 243,000 naira from a vendor holding account to a separate account connected to her cousin. She printed travel confirmation for a flight leaving Lagos 3 days after the gala. She removed the external drive from her handbag and hid it inside the lining of a fabric sample case. Then she searched for something powerful enough to destroy Faith Elo's credibility before Faith could destroy hers. The sapphire brooch arrived at 3:42 that afternoon. It belonged to a private donor and was intended for display during the pre-wedding charity auction at the Civic Center. The piece was insured for 11 million naira, though its emotional value was higher because it had belonged to the donor, Alo's mother. The courier handed the sealed box to Bola. She signed for it. The security chief watched from the desk. Madam, high-value items should be logged in the main safe, he said. I know my work. I need the serial photograph. You will receive it after I inspect the condition. Policy says before opening. Bola looked at him. Which policy? The one Oga approved after the attempted break-in last year. Her smile was thin. Do not use one incident to teach me how to breathe. I will call you. She carried the box upstairs. The security chief entered the delivery time in his notebook. 3:42 p.m. He added one word beside it, unverified. At 4:17, Mama Hawa saw Bola enter the small storage office near the staff lockers. At 4:26, Bola came out without the jewelry box. When she noticed the old woman at the end of the corridor, she stopped. Carrying towels, madam. Carry them elsewhere. Mama Hawa looked at her empty hands. Where is the box you brought? Bola stepped closer. Do you know what curiosity does to poor people? Mama Hawa said nothing. It makes them touch things their hands can never buy. I did not touch anything. Make sure it remains that way. Bola walked past her. Mama Hawa entered the laundry room and wrote the time in her small notebook. At 7:41 that evening, Bola signed out the master key ring from the security desk. Her stated reason was linen inventory. The security chief watched her sign. Madam, the key must return before 8. Are you timing me? The system records it. She glanced at the camera above the desk. Then let your system watch. The camera did. What Bola did not know was that the upgraded security system stored footage in 2 places. The local recorder saved immediately. A cloud server saved in delayed blocks every 3 minutes. After the attempted break-in, Chuka had insisted on the second copy. Bola had complained about the cost and then forgotten it existed. At 7:47, she entered the staff locker corridor. At 7:49, she used the master key to open locker 12, assigned to Mama Hawa. At 7:51, she placed the sapphire brooch beneath 2 folded scarves. At 7:53, she closed the locker. At 7:56, she returned the master key. At 8:04, she entered the security office while the chief was inspecting the outer gate and deleted 12 minutes from the local recorder. The screen showed a clean gap. She smiled. The cloud copy continued uploading. The next morning, Faith almost refused to attend the gala. She stood before the mirror in her apartment, wearing a simple gold dress selected weeks earlier. The engagement ring remained on her finger, but it felt unfamiliar now, like an object borrowed from another woman, Alo's life. Chuka had sent 3 messages. "We need to talk before the event. Please come early. There are things I must tell you." Faith read them without replying. At 1:13, the senior housekeeper called. Her voice was shaking. "Ma, Madam Bowler has ordered all staff lockers to be opened at the venue tonight." "Why?" "She says a donor Alo's jewelry item is missing." Faith sat up. "When was it reported missing?" "This morning." "Who had custody?" "I do not know. Have police been called?" "No, Ma. She says she wants to find it quietly first. Do not allow anyone to search your personal bag alone. We cannot refuse her. You can request a witness and a written inventory." "Ma, if we say that, she will dismiss us." Faith closed her eyes. "Fear again. Listen to me," she said. "Do not touch anything in your locker before the search. Do not move any item. Write down who opens it and who is present. If something is found, do not sign a confession or repayment form." The woman breathed unevenly. "Will you come?" Faith looked at the gold dress reflected in the mirror. "Yes," she said. "I will come." By 5:40, the Civic Center ballroom had become a polished world of glass, flowers, and soft gold light. Round tables carried white linen and small cards describing the caregiver scholarship fund the event would support. A display case near the stage stood empty, where the sapphire brooch should have been. 73 invited guests arrived before 7. They included business associates, relatives, donors, and 2 lifestyle journalists who had promised not to record inside the private reception. Their phones remained in their hands. People promise restraint easily when nothing dramatic is happening. Faith entered at 6:14. Chuka saw her from across the room and moved towards her. But Bowler intercepted him with a whisper about the missing brooch. His face tightened. "We need to speak now," Chuka told Faith. "About the recording?" "About more than that." Bowler approached. "Sir, the staff search must happen before guests settle. We cannot risk the item leaving the building." Faith looked at her. "Who authorized a staff search?" "The donor Alo's representative. Where is the written authorization?" Bowler laughed. "Written? A family treasure is missing, and you want minutes of meeting? I want a lawful, documented process. This is a private event. Private humiliation is still humiliation." Chuka raised one hand. "Enough. Bowler, no search until the security chief arrives. He is checking the loading entrance. Then wait." Bowler. Alo's eyes shifted towards the service corridor. Waiting was dangerous. The cloud backup might be discovered. Mama Hawa might speak. Chuka Alo's suspicion had already grown. She needed the accusation to become public before evidence could become organized. At 6:33, she told a junior guard that one staff member had been seen near the jewelry case. "Which one?" he asked. "The old temporary maid, Mama Hawa. She has been asking questions about the box since yesterday." The guard frowned. "Did anybody see her touch it? Are you the detective now? Open her locker." Olga said wait. Bowler stepped close enough for him to smell her perfume. "Olga is preparing to address guests. If that item disappears because you delayed, do not expect salary this month." The guard swallowed. At 6:41, he followed Bowler into the staff corridor. Mama Hawa was folding service cloths beside locker 12. The senior housekeeper stood 3 meters away. Faith had just entered through the opposite doorway after hearing raised voices. Bowler pointed. "Open it." Mama Hawa looked at the guard. "Why? A jewelry item is missing." And you believe it is inside my locker? Bola crossed her arms. Only a thief fears a search. Faith stepped forward. That statement is nonsense. People fear unfair searches because power can plant what truth did not place. Bola Alo's expression sharpened. Are you accusing me? I am objecting to the process. This is staff property. Then where is the search policy? Bola turned to the guard. Open it! The senior housekeeper whispered. Ma, please wait for the security chief. Bola rounded on her. So the infection has reached you too. You people now think because the future madam smiles at you, your uniforms have become suits. Faith Alo's voice cut through the corridor. Do not speak to her like that. Bola lifted her chin. This is why workers no longer know their level. You pour small kindness on them and suddenly they believe they can question the hand paying them. Payment is exchange for labor, not purchase of silence. The guard Aa's hand hovered near the lock. Chuka entered the corridor. Bola turned. Sir, she is preventing the search. I told you to wait. The donor is threatening to call police. Then let the security chief handle it. At that moment, the donor Alo's representative appeared behind Chuka, drawn by the noise. 2 guests followed, then 4. Curiosity moved faster than any instruction to remain inside the ballroom. The corridor began to fill. Bola saw her chance. She took the master key from her waist. Faith noticed. Why do you have that key? Because I manage this house. You signed it out. I do not need permission to perform my duty. Who recorded custody? Bola ignored her and pushed the key into locker 12. Mama Hawa stepped back. The lock clicked. A breath seemed to leave the corridor all at once. Bola opened the metal door, reached beneath 2 folded scarves, and pulled out the sapphire brooch. It slipped from her fingers. The sapphire brooch hit the marble floor with a sharp metallic sound, and 73 guests turned at once. There, inside the Maid Alo's locker, Bola screamed, pointing as though she had just uncovered a murderer. I told all of you. Poverty has made this woman shameless. Mama Hawa stood frozen beside the service door, her faded uniform damp with sweat. The junior guard seized her arm and twisted it behind her back, while phones rose across the corridor and ballroom entrance, recording every second of her humiliation. I did not take it, the elderly maid whispered. Madam, I have never even touched that box. Keep quiet. Bola snapped. Do you know how much that brooch costs? Your entire bloodline cannot afford the clasp. Laughter broke from one corner of the hall. It was not loud. That made it worse. Then Faith Coker stepped between the guard and the maid. Remove your hand from her. The guard looked towards Chuka Daniels. Chuka said nothing. For one terrible second, fear, suspicion, and shock pinned him in place. He knew Bola had lied about the recording. He knew his mother had seen suspicious movement. Yet the brooch lay on the floor, and the crowd waited for the billionaire to control his house. His silence became a decision before he understood it. Faith Alo's eyes moved from the open locker to the brooch, then to the master key hanging from Bola Alo's waist. Who searched this locker? I did, Bola replied. Who witnessed you opening it? Silence. Who checked the security footage? More silence. Chuka finally spoke. Faith, step aside. Let the family handle this. Faith slowly removed the diamond engagement ring from her finger. She placed it on the champagne table beside the corridor. The tiny sound it made silenced the entire ballroom. There will be no wedding, she said, until this woman is treated like a human being and not a convenient criminal. Chuka stared at her, speechless. Bola recovered first. So, because of an ordinary maid, you will disgrace your fiancé in front of guests. Faith did not look at her. She looked only at Chuka. You asked me to become part of this family, she said. But the first time this family had power over a frightened woman. You stood there waiting for somebody else to decide whether she deserved respect. Chukatello's mouth opened. No words came. Faith turned to the guard. "Release her," Bola shouted. "Do not touch that woman. Police are coming." "Good," Faith replied. "Then preserve the scene properly." She pointed towards the brooch. "Nobody picks it up with bare hands. Record who found it, who opened the locker, who possessed the master key, who first handled the jewelry, and where the original box was kept." The donor LO's representative pushed forward. "My client wants the item secured. Then place it in a clean evidence bag with 2 witnesses," Faith said. "Do not wave it around a ballroom." Bola laughed harshly. "Listen to her. One caregiver trainer has become commissioner of police." Faith turned on her. "No, I am simply refusing to let your confidence replace evidence." The guard loosened his grip on Mama Hawa. Bola pointed at him. "If she runs, you will answer for it." Mama Hawa straightened slowly, rubbing her wrist. "I am not running," she said. Her voice had changed. It was still soft, but the weakness was gone. Bola noticed. So did Chuka. Faith moved beside the elderly woman. "Mama, are you injured? I will manage." "No, do not say you will manage. Can you move your fingers?" Mama Hawa opened and closed her hand. "Yes. Do you want medical attention?" "Not yet," Bola scoffed. "Medical attention? For what? A thief Alo's wrist?" Faith Alo's head turned slowly. "Say one more thing about her before the investigation is complete," she said, "and I will personally make sure every person recording this understands who condemned whom without proof." Bola Alo's face flushed. "You think your small degree and charity center make you powerful here? No, I think your habit of insulting people has made you careless." The phones remained raised. Bola suddenly understood that every word was now being preserved by the same crowd she had wanted as witnesses to Mama Hawa Alo's shame. She changed direction. "Sir," she said to Chuka, "you must control your fiancée." Faith looked at him. The word fiancée seemed almost cruel now. Chuka took one step towards her. "Faith, please, let us go somewhere private." "No. I need to explain." "Explain why a woman was searched without a witness? More than that." "Then explain it here. This is where you allowed her humiliation to happen." His eyes moved towards Mama Hawa. Halima met her son Alo's gaze. The moment had come in the worst possible way. Chuka whispered, "Mum." Faith heard him. Bola heard him. The word traveled through the corridor like a match touching dry paper. Mama Hawa reached up and removed her thick glasses. She untied the plain scarf. Beneath it, her silver-streaked hair had been pinned flat. She pulled away the small padding from beneath her cardigan and stood straighter, allowing the years of authority in her body to return. The elderly maid disappeared without leaving the spot. Halima Daniels stood in her place. A glass slipped from somebody Alo's hand near the ballroom entrance. It shattered. Nobody moved. Bola Alo's face emptied of color. The donor Alo's representative whispered, "Madam Daniels?" Halima looked around the crowd, then at the phones. "Lower them," she said. One by one, people obeyed. Her gaze settled on the junior guard. "Young man, I know you followed an order, but any order that asks you to hurt a person before evidence is examined is an order you must question." The guard released her fully and stepped back. "I am sorry, Ma. Your apology will matter when your conduct changes." Then Halima turned to Bola. "You said my entire bloodline could not afford the clasp." Bola, Alo's lips trembled. "Ma, I did not know. That is the point." The silence deepened. "You believed respect should depend on knowing my name." "Ma, this is a misunderstanding." "No. A misunderstanding is when somebody hears Tuesday instead of Thursday. You ordered staff to sign blank papers. You withheld meals. You threatened salaries. You planted fear in every corridor and called it discipline." Bola glanced at Chuka. "Sir, she is confused." The stress, Halima Alo's voice sharpened. Do not use my age to erase my memory. Bola stepped back. Halima faced the guests. I entered my son Alo's house under the name Mama Hawa because I wanted to test the woman he planned to marry. A murmur moved through the room. Faith went completely still. Halima continued. I wanted to see how Faith behaved when she believed nobody important was watching. I told myself I was protecting my son. I called deception wisdom because fear sounded respectable in my own voice. Chuka looked down. I came to examine Faith, Halima said. Instead, this house exposed the people who believed they were qualified to examine her. Some guests turned towards Faith with admiration. Faith did not receive it. Her face had closed. Halima stepped towards her. My daughter, do not call me that. The words were quiet. They stopped Halima more completely than a shout. Faith looked at Chuka. You knew. He raised his eyes. Yes. How long? From the beginning. You agreed for your mother to enter the house as a maid and report on me. His throat moved. I agreed because do not explain your reason before answering. He stopped. Did you agree? Yes. Did you receive reports about how I spoke to her? Not detailed reports. My mother, did you receive any? Yes. Did you know when I took her to the clinic? Yes. Did you know I believed she was an employee with no power in this house? Yes. Faith Alo's eyes glistened. She did not cry. A human being is not an examination paper, she said. You cannot manufacture deception and call the result truth. Faith, I was afraid. And so you took away my right to choose you with the full truth. I wanted certainty. You wanted control. The sentence landed harder than any insult Bola had thrown. Chuka shook his head. No, yes. You wanted to observe me without being observed yourself. You wanted my character exposed while your methods remained hidden. He had no answer. Faith looked at Halima. And you? Halima held her gaze. I was wrong. Did you ever plan to tell me if I failed your test? Halima Al's silence answered first. I do not know, she admitted. Faith nodded slowly. Exactly. Bola seized the moment. You see, sir, she is turning everybody against the family because she has been planning this from the beginning. Halima turned. You should be silent now. I am only saying. The brooch, Faith interrupted. Before this becomes a family confession and the actual accusation disappears, who had custody of the brooch? The security chief entered the corridor at that moment, breathing hard. He had been delayed at the loading entrance by a supplier dispute Bola had arranged. I logged the delivery at 3:42 yesterday, he said. Madam Bola signed for the sealed box. Every face turned. Bola lifted her chin, and I placed it in secure storage. Which storage? Faith asked. The upstairs office. Who witnessed that? No one needed to. Faith looked at the security chief. Was the master key signed out? He opened the notebook in his hand. Yes, at 7:41 p.m. Returned at 7:56. By whom? He looked at Bola, Madam Bola. A sound passed through the guests. Bola Al's voice rose. For linen inventory, that proves nothing. No, Faith said. It proves access. Evidence is built by connecting facts, not shouting one fact as a conclusion. The security chief continued. There is also a gap in the local camera recording from 7:46 to 7:58. Bola pointed at him. You are responsible for that system. Yes, Ma. So perhaps you deleted it. He looked at Chuka. Sir, the local footage is not the only copy. Bola froze. Chuka stepped forward. The cloud backup. Yes, sir. It uploads in delayed blocks. I checked from the secure account when I noticed the gap. Faith Alo's breath caught. Halima Alo's eyes closed briefly. Bola Alo's hand moved towards the wall as if she needed support. The security chief held up a tablet. The missing period is there. Chuka Alo's voice became flat. Show it. The crowd shifted towards the ballroom screen. The charity presentation disappeared. In its place, grainy corridor footage appeared with a timestamp in the corner. 7:47 p.m. Bola entered the staff locker corridor carrying the master key. 7:49. She opened locker 12, 7:51. She placed something beneath folded scarves, 7:53. She closed the locker. Nobody breathed. Bola watched herself destroy her own lie. The screen froze on her face as she turned towards the camera. Halima spoke first. "You did not make one terrible mistake, Bola." Bola Alo's lips moved, but no sound came. "You made the mistake of believing poor people have no memory, no records, and no one willing to stand beside them." Bola found her voice in pieces. "That video does not show a brooch." Nobody answered. "It shows me opening a locker. I told you it was linen inventory." Faith looked at the screen. "In a personal staff locker? I was checking for missing napkins, underfolded scarves." Bola Alo's mouth tightened. "This is a setup." The senior housekeeper stepped out from behind the guests. For 7 years, she had lowered her eyes whenever Bola entered a room. Now her hands were shaking, but her face was lifted. "No, Ma," she said. "The setup is what you have been doing to us." Bola turned on her. "Go back to the service area before I sack you." The woman flinched. Then she remained where she was. "You cannot sack her tonight," Chuka said. His voice had changed. The shame was still there, but something firmer had entered beneath it. Bola faced him. "Sir, after everything I have done for this family, give me your access cards." Her eyes widened. "You cannot be serious. Your access cards, the master keys, and every device containing household records. You believe these people over me?" Chuka looked at the frozen image on the screen. "I believe evidence I can see. That is what I should have done before believing a recording you cut." Bola glanced towards the ballroom exit. The security chief moved quietly into her path. "Nobody is detaining you without authority," Chuka said. "But you will not remove any family property or records. The police are already on their way because you called them. You can explain your position to them with legal representation." Bola Alo's face twisted. "This is because of her," she pointed at Faith. "This woman entered and poisoned all of you. She wants the house, the money, and the family name. She has been turning servants into witnesses so she can control what belongs to you." Faith stood beside the champagne table, her bare ring finger visible against the gold of her dress. "I do not want control of this house," she said. "I am leaving it." Chuka turned sharply. "Faith," she did not look at him. The senior housekeeper opened the black nylon folder she had brought to the venue beneath a stack of service schedules. She removed copied payslips and message screenshots. "Sir, these are deductions from our salaries," she said. "Transport, uniforms, food. We did not receive many of these things." Bola laughed too loudly. "Photocopies? Anybody can create paper." "The bank transfers can be checked," Faith replied. The woman handed the pages to Chuka. He read the first, then the second. His face became still in the way it did when business news worse than anybody had prepared him to hear. "Why is the paid amount different from the salary acknowledgement?" he asked. Bola folded her arms. "Advances. Damage. Staff loans. These people forget every time they collect money." The senior housekeeper shook her head. "I never collected an advance, sir." "Liar." Bola spat. "After I fed you for 7 years? You deducted the food." The answer came softly. It struck hard. Bola stepped towards her, but the security chief blocked the movement. Halima took the payslips from Chuka and read them, one by one. Her hands remained steady until she reached the blank acknowledgement form photographed that morning. She lifted her eyes to her son. This did not begin yesterday. Chuka looked around the corridor at the workers standing behind guests. still dressed to serve people who had spent the last 20 minutes watching their employer. Discover he did not know his own house. No, he said. It did not. His gaze settled on Bola. You are suspended from every role connected to this family, effective now. An independent auditor will review all household and event accounts. No record is to be destroyed. No worker is to be contacted privately. Any money taken will be traced. Bola Alo's nostrils flared. And when the audit clears me, then the findings will say so. You owe me loyalty. Chuka Alo's expression hardened. Loyalty is not permission to operate without accountability. She looked at Halima. Ma, tell him. I served your husband. I stood with this family. Halima folded the papers. Standing near a family is not the same as standing for what is right. Bola Alo's face crumpled for 1 second, then pride rebuilt it. She removed the access card from her neck and dropped it on the champagne table beside Faith Alo's ring. The two objects lay close together. One represented power taken away. The other represented trust returned. The police arrived at 7:19. The brooch was sealed, the locker photographed, the key log copied, and the cloud footage preserved. Bola was not dragged through the ballroom for entertainment. She was escorted to a private room to give her account, while an advisor contacted on her behalf, joined by phone. Faith insisted on one thing before speaking to the officers. Mama Hawa was accused publicly, she said. Her correction must also be public. Halima looked at her. My name is Halima. Faith Alo's eyes met hers. Tonight, the name used to shame you was Mama Hawa. Halima understood. Chuka returned to the ballroom stage. The charity screen behind him still showed the frozen corridor footage until he asked for it to be removed. He faced the guests. The jewelry item has been recovered, he said. The woman accused of taking it did not steal it. The available evidence shows the item was placed in her locker by another person. Any recording that identifies or humiliates her must not be shared. This family will cooperate with the investigation and correct the harm done. He paused. My mother entered this event under another identity. That decision was made by my mother and me. It was wrong. The wrongdoing discovered tonight does not make our deception right. A murmur moved through the guests. Chuka looked towards Faith. She stood near the exit. I also failed to act when an employee was handled without evidence. He continued. Silence from a person with power is not neutral. It gives permission to whoever is already using force. Faith Alo's eyes filled again. Still, she did not move towards him. When Chuka stepped down from the stage, he found her collecting her handbag. Please do not go yet. I have said what I needed to say. I have not. Then say it without expecting an answer. He stopped 1 step away from her. I am sorry. Faith waited. I let old fear judge you, he continued. I allowed my mother to test you because I wanted proof that loving you was safe. Then when Bola gave me a recording that matched my fear, I listened to the fear before I listened to you. Faith Alo's hand tightened around the bag strap. No, that is true, she said. I will fix it. You cannot fix trust like a delayed shipment. I know. No, Chuka. Tonight you know you are afraid of losing me. That is not the same as understanding what you did. He looked down. Faith glanced at the ring on the table. Keep it. I do not want it without you. Then learn to sit with not getting what you want. He lifted his eyes. She continued. Do not come to my center. Do not send flowers. Do not use your mother, your driver, or any member of staff to reach me. Do not change this house as a performance for my return. What am I supposed to do? The right thing, even if I never see it. She walked away. Chuka did not follow. Halima stood several meters behind him. She did not touch his shoulder or tell him Faith would return. My son, she said. Tonight you discovered her character. He stared at the doorway through which Faith had disappeared. She also discovered yours. The gala ended without music. Food prepared for celebration was packed and distributed to workers and nearby shelters through the caterer. Guests left in small groups, speaking in whispers. The sapphire brooch returned to its owner after formal verification. The empty display case remained on the stage like a transparent coffin for the evening they had planned. The next morning, Chuka entered the staff dining area at 7:03. Conversation stopped. He had never eaten there. He stood beside the same wall where the notices had been posted. No sitting during duty, no personal calls. Damage will be deducted. He removed them himself. Nobody applauded. They watched. Work is suspended today with full pay, he said. An external payroll review begins this morning. You may speak privately to the review team. Nobody will lose a job for providing truthful information. You will receive copies of any statement you make. The senior housekeeper raised one hand carefully. Sir, who will manage us while Madame Bowler is away? Not one person alone. He looked around the room. Until a new system is agreed. Duties will be coordinated by the senior housekeeper, the security chief, and an external administrator. No deduction will be made without written explanation and review. A kitchen worker asked, "What about the money already removed?" It will be calculated and repaid where it cannot be justified, even if it is many years. Yes. The worker looked down at her hands. We have heard promises before. Chuka accepted the sentence. Then do not trust the promise, he said. Check the result. That was the beginning. Not redemption. Beginning. For 4 months, the independent audit moved through 7 years of payroll, invoices, and supplier records. The work was slow because household finances had been treated casually for too long. Some receipts were genuine. Some services had been delivered partially. Some deductions were lawful advances that workers had forgotten. Others were indefensible. The final confirmed amount diverted, or falsely recorded, was 17,850,000 naira. The number included transport billed but not provided, uniform purchases that never reached staff, inflated breakage deductions, false food charges and payments to vendors connected to Bola Alo's relatives. 243,000 naira had been transferred on the day before the gala. Bola denied criminal intent. She claimed poor record keeping. The case continued through the proper authorities, and the family did not announce a dramatic sentence that had not happened. What became certain was immediate. She lost her position, her access to family property, and the apartment attached to her employment. Under legal agreements connected to the civil recovery, she surrendered funds that could be traced, issued written corrections to affected workers, and entered a repayment plan for the remaining recoverable amount. Nobody asked the workers to forgive her. Repair was required whether forgiveness came or not. Chuka replaced the old system with one that could not depend on a single trusted person. The person selecting a supplier could no longer approve the invoice. The person confirming delivery could not release payment. Staff received written job descriptions, clear pay slips, and a private channel managed outside the household. Late shifts included transport records with passenger names and trip confirmation. Meals and breaks entered the schedule before flowers, speeches, or guest arrivals. The household dignity charter became policy. Faith Alo's name was not printed on it. Chuka wanted to acknowledge her. Then he remembered she had not done the work for praise. He apologized to each employee in private meetings. No photographer entered. No video was posted. Some workers accepted. Some remained guarded. One told him she had lost a rented room after unexplained deductions made her salary short. Chuka paid the arrears due to her. He could not return the room. Money repairs money. It does not reverse every consequence. During the first 90 days, he did not contact Faith. He drafted messages and deleted them. He drove past the road leading to her center and continued without turning. On her birthday, he bought nothing. His mother reminded him that respecting a boundary was not abandonment. "It is the first evidence that you heard her," Halima said. Halima waited 41 days before requesting a meeting through Faith Allo's office email. The message contained no emotional pressure. "I owe you an apology in person. You are free to decline. If you agree, I will come at a time and place you choose." Faith accepted. They met in Faith Ilo's office at 2:30 on a Thursday. The room held a metal filing cabinet, 2 visitor chairs, and a standing fan that clicked whenever it turned left. Halima arrived without a driver waiting at the door, without jewelry and without a gift. Faith gestured towards the chair. Halima sat. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Then Halima said, "I will not ask you to understand why I did it." Faith watched her. "I was afraid for my son," Halima continued. "But fear does not become righteous because it belongs to a mother. I deceived you. I placed you in a test you did not consent to. I accepted your care while hiding information that would have changed your choices." Faith Allo's eyes lowered briefly. Halima continued, "You do not owe me forgiveness, and you do not owe my son another chance. I am sorry." The fan clicked left, clicked right. Faith folded her hands on the desk. "Thank you for saying it without asking me to repair your guilt." Halima nodded. "I accept the apology," Faith said. "That does not mean trust is restored." "I understand. And please do not call me your daughter." Pain touched Halima Allo's face. "I understand that too." They spoke for 26 minutes. Not about Chuka Allo's loneliness. Not about weddings. They spoke about the staff repayment process, the limits of household policies, and the danger of turning vulnerable people into symbols while ignoring their practical needs. Before leaving, Halima paused at the door. "When you took me to the clinic," she said, "you asked whether I wanted the bill recorded as an advance. Nobody had ever protected my dignity while helping me in that way." Faith Allo's expression softened. "Help should not create a debt of obedience," she replied. Halima nodded and left. On the 91st day, Chuka sent one message. "May I request 30 minutes in a public place? No gifts, no pressure. You can leave at any time." Faith replied 6 hours later. "Saturday, 4:00 o'clock. The cafe near my center." He arrived 12 minutes early and ordered only water. When Faith entered, he stood but did not pull out her chair as though courtesy could erase history. She sat across from him. "You have 30 minutes, she said. Chuka placed a thin folder on the table. "This is not for you to audit. It is a summary of what changed because you have a right to know what followed the harm." Faith opened it. Repayments, policy changes, independent complaint channel, separation of financial duties, training records, she read in silence. "I did not do these things to get you back," he said. "At first, I wanted to. Then I realized that would make workers into tools in another test." Faith closed the folder. "What did you learn?" He answered without rushing, "That I believed paying well made me a good employer. It did not. I was absent, inaccessible, and too impressed by efficiency to ask what it cost people. Bola planted the jewelry, but I built a house where workers were too frightened to tell me she could do it." Faithlah's eyes remained on him, and about us. Chuka looked at his hands. "I wanted certainty before giving you trust. So I took away your right to choose me with the full truth. That was control, even when I called it protection." The cafe noise moved around them. Cups touched saucers. A blender started behind the counter. Outside, a bus stopped and released passengers into the heat. Faith said, "An apology does not make me ready for marriage. I know. I may never be ready with you. I know. You do not know. You are only saying the correct thing. Chuka accepted the challenge. Then I will say what I know. I want another chance. I am not entitled to one. Faith leaned back. For the first time since the gala, she saw no argument waiting behind his eyes, only hope disciplined by consequence. We can speak again, she said. That is all. His breath left slowly. That is enough. It is not a promise. I heard you. They began again without announcements. No secret tests, no family reports, no driver waiting outside Faith Allow's office to tell Chuka when she left. They met in ordinary places, discussed uncomfortable things, and allowed disagreement to end without punishment. When Chuka felt suspicion rising, he named it instead of turning it into an accusation. When Faith noticed herself preparing to examine every sentence for danger, she said so. Trust returned in small pieces. 8 months after the gala, Faith chose to resume the relationship fully. 11 months after the night of the brooch, they married in a small ceremony with 47 guests. No artificial flower arch blocked the entrance. No household worker carried a tray or washed a glass. The regular staff attended as guests, received full pay for the day, and traveled home in vehicles arranged through an outside events company. Halima wore the repaired ivory blouse. The hem was smooth. The 2 beads had been sewn back into place. Before the ceremony, she placed the engagement ring in Chuka Allow's palm. He did not take Faith Allow's hand. He opened his own and let her see the ring resting there. This belongs with your choice, he said. Faith looked at him for a long moment. Then she picked it up and placed it on her own finger. The room remained quiet until she smiled. Only then did people breathe again. The training center in Surulere later published a plain language guide for household employers and workers. It explained written duties, pay slips, documented deductions, safe complaint channels, evidence preservation, and the difference between assistance and control. Chuka funded the first printing, but his company name appeared nowhere on the cover. The workers who contributed examples reviewed the language before publication. Nobody Allow's suffering became decoration. And that was the final lesson the Daniels house had to learn. Respect is not measured by how politely you greet powerful people. It is revealed in what you do when the person before you has no title, no money, and no obvious way to punish your cruelty. The ring returned only after the house learned that respect was not a performance for important guests. It was a responsibility owed to the person standing nearest the service door. A quick note before you go. The class discrimination, wage manipulation, and public humiliation shown in this story reflect real struggles that can occur in homes and workplaces, though labor rules and worker protections differ depending on where a person lives. When serious exploitation, harassment, or retaliation is involved, do not depend on a YouTube comment section for legal solutions. Speak with a qualified professional, a workers' allo organization, or the appropriate local authority. In the United States, people can consult the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or contact a local legal aid clinic for guidance about workplace rights and available options. I am not a lawyer, and nothing shared here is professional legal advice. I am simply a storyteller who believes dignity should never depend on salary, uniform, or social class. The true test of character is how we treat people when we believe they have nothing to offer us in return.